Hello and welcome to Turf and Touchdowns, episode number 10. We're focusing solely on horse racing once again. We are currently right in the middle of Royal Ascot week. So on Turf and Touchdowns, we thought we'd celebrate things by talking about not Royal Ascot. We're going to talk about the Ohio Derby here over in the US, over at Thistledown, a track that I'm sure plenty of you might not have had a bet at in the past. We'll take you through Thistledown and what to expect in a moment, but myself, Luke Elder, alongside Tom Collins. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Luke. The first 2 days of Royal Ascot hasn't exactly treated me well, but no, I'm still in good spirits, and we're coming off the back of a nice US winner as well last Saturday. So, you know, on the US side of things, I'm doing all right. In the UK right now, I need to pick up my game.
I've been trying to help you out in the UK stuff, but you've not listened to me.
You have, yeah, to be fair.
Gave you the 80-1 winner of the Coventry. Gave you the bet of the week in the King's Stand winner S4.
Well, I just want to say that you cannot claim to give me the 80-1 winner in the Coventry. You sent me a text after the race with the bet slip. That is not giving someone the 80-1 winner.
In fairness, didn't tell you about it.
You didn't.
I did tip it in a place, but that's all I got.
Unbelievable.
I don't care. I still backed it. I hope you guys are having a good Royal Ascot and a profitable one as well. If you're following this podcast, you're in profit as well because we're not doing too badly the last few podcasts. I haven't actually worked it out. I probably should have, but we've done 7 racing podcasts.
I think so.
I think we've put up winners in 6 of them.
I know that we didn't put up the winner of the Man of War.
The Preakness we didn't either.
And the Preakness. Yeah, I think we're 5 out of 7.
5 out of 7. That's not too bad. You throw Mystic Dan in there, who was a big price. Web Slinger, obviously, last week, depending what price you got over in the UK, opened up 3-1 plus. He went off 11-8. Very frustrating, Tom, that Tyler Gaffalione clearly doesn't watch this podcast, because if he did, he would have been a bit closer earlier on Bold Act, and we'd have got the forecast. But well done to yourself with Web Slinger. He stepped up and tripped perfectly.
He won a race. It's unbelievable scenes. It kind of made my Saturday because, as we said on the podcast last week, Web Slinger is this horse that we've both been with on numerous occasions. He regularly lets us down, but not necessarily in a bad way. Like, he doesn't perform badly. He's just always finding one or two too good. Yet he finally got his head in front, which was fantastic. Was sent off the favourite, which was surprising, but it was available, I think, at 7-2 on opening show. So there was a bit of value there, even with the Rule 4. Yeah, Bold Act ran okay, but the forecast wasn't the play.
No, I'd like to... Tom does a running order, by the way, for every single show. And it's just like, it's something basic, you know. Yeah. You're not expecting much from Tom Collins. And his wording was, another successful week with Web Slinger getting the job done for TC, 7-2. Bold Act ran okay, but only 3rd for Luke Elder. I read that. I was like, that's my friend.
No, but I was saying it's more of a positive. He ran okay, but you know, it wasn't great. You did anticipate the forecast. You were that close to being correct, but Bold Act's been a bit disappointing, hasn't he? I mean, the 3 US starts is just not really living up to his potential.
I think I'm going to stop betting him until William Buick or Jamie Spencer get back on board with him, because I think I'm sticking to my he's not an American jockey's ride, because they keep ballsing up a little bit. But that's by the by. Will be, I don't know where he's going to go next, whether something like the United Nations, that's not too far away.
Yeah, it'll probably be something in mid-Saratoga meet. I don't know what specifically, but I imagine we'll see him there.
Yeah, for sure. Just some of the results recently as well, because also on the running order, Tom put them down, and I just didn't read it. We've had Mystic Dan to start things off, Legend of Time, Ottoman Fleet, and also Irish Aces each way. We were very, very much against Sierra Leone. We got everything right regarding the Belmont, except for the actual result and anything that will pay money. And then obviously Web Slinger last week. So if you are new to Turf and Touchdowns, you're in a very good place, because hopefully we're going to do exactly the same again this week. We are focusing on the Ohio Derby. Thistledown is not normally a place that I would like to talk about. However, this is a very good race. One thing I have learned is on the weather apps how to search for Thistledown, because Thistledown for me doesn't work. So you have to search North Randall, and North Randall in Ohio, Tom, going through a real hot spell at the moment. It's beautiful weather.
Yeah, to be fair, that is a positive, not just for the people there who are obviously getting a lovely tan like we are in the UK right now, but also because we're not going to be dealt with a sloppy track. And a sloppy track and Thistledown combined, definitely not what I want to hear. I mean, we don't really tip or look at Thistledown week to week. Well, I don't, definitely. This is their one big day, the Ohio Derby. Some of the best trainers have shipped some horses in. Some of the best riders are there as well. So it would be foolish if we didn't cover it. Hopefully, we can provide another winner. But as you've already said, Thistledown is not at the top of our list of most prolific venues to be bet at.
Let's just wind that little clock back to what you were saying there. They're getting a nice tan in Ohio, just like we are.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone watching on YouTube, I mean, I'm wearing a white shirt which accentuates a tan.
Sure.
And I would say I'm not looking overly.
To be honest with you, you're completely blended into your background, so all I can see is a head. And with me,
it's actually a green screen.
With me, I have one tanned right arm, and that's about it right now. I mean, this is all irrelevant. People probably don't care, but you know, the golfer's right arm is how I describe it. Just no tan elsewhere, very pasty still. But what I was trying to say is, it's quite warm in the UK for a change.
Good job. You can get a job as a weatherman any day. Shall we move on?
Let's.
Let's go to North Randall, Ohio, where we've actually got prices to look at this week. Sometimes we do this show and we have no idea what the prices are, so we're sort of making them up as we go along. But the morning line prices over in the US have Catching Freedom as the 9-5 market leader. That was kind of expected. I think 9-5 is very big regarding Catching Freedom, and he will not be that price in any way, shape, or form. But from a pace standpoint, we'll start in the position that we always do. Who makes the running for yourself?
There are no proper burners in this race, I don't think, but they should go steady enough fractions, solid enough fractions, up front. I don't anticipate it'll be an absolute crawl. Batten Down looks the most logical pace setter for me. He made all the running last time. He's a horse who can get very keen if he doesn't go forward. So I anticipate he will burst out from his wide gate and try to make the front. Who's the King could be the other one who's up there from the early stages. Again, he's not an out-and-out pace setter, but he has raced prominently in the past, and he's a bit of a long shot in here. So the best way of causing a shock is to go forward. I anticipate those two will go up front, but they should go, steady, solid enough fractions through the middle part, and I anticipate there'll be no hard luck stories.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Batten Down does look the more signed on pace angle. He was very good at Churchill last time around from the front end. Whether he's going to be good enough to win this or to do the same sort of thing, I'm not sure. But going from a maiden special weight into the Ohio Derby is a bit of a leap. However, one horse we know plenty more of, a horse that we were keen on in the Kentucky Derby as well. And to be fair, he ran very well. He's Catching Freedom. I think we were also fairly keen on him in the Preakness as well. But the Preakness was just a nightmare. The rain came, nothing made up ground from the back of the field. Seized the Grey jumped on the front, and that was that. But I don't think I really appreciated how well Catching Freedom ran until I started watching him back the other day. I was disappointed at the time, but everything went wrong for him, and he still found a way to not get it done, but at least feature.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I actually was against him that day. I wasn't saying that he was a bad bet necessarily, but I just didn't think the way the race was going to pan out would suit him. But he ran above my expectations for sure in finishing third. It was an extremely sticky surface. When the rain comes, usually it can just be either wet fast or it can be sloppy, but the horses can get through it. Okay, if you're a specialist on a wet track, then you're definitely more suited. But even the dry track dirt horses can go through the slop. At Pimlico on Preakness Day, it was sticky. It was like, I don't even know how to explain it, Marmite underfoot.
It looked like clay.
Yeah, it really did. And that's what Chad Brown said in an interview recently. He sent a couple of horses to Pimlico and he just said it wasn't suitable for any of them. A completely different track to what these horses are used to running on. So I know this could be controversial to some Seize the Grey fans or whatnot, but I'm putting a line straight through the Preakness in terms of future form. And if you go back to Louisiana Derby race, where Catching Freedom beat Honor Marie and Sierra Leone, is he not way the horse to beat in here?
100%. Honestly, I came into this race thinking, I'll see what I could do. I want to try and get Catching Freedom beaten, but I just don't think there's a way in to that. I'm with you entirely on the Preakness form in putting a line through it, but I think there are angles that you can take horses forward with. Catching Freedom obviously is one of them. Loved, by the way, that Louis Sires is in town.
Yeah.
This would be the one time of the year not even yearly, that he'd come into Thistledown. But look, he's got a big ride on board, Catching Freedom for Brad Cox, and in a valuable race like this, you're not going to turn that down.
No, and people may think, well, Size hasn't ridden this horse many times in the past, but he did ride Catching Freedom in the Risen Star, and they finished a very good third behind a tepid early pace. So he does know how to ride Catching Freedom, and obviously, as he has been for the last few years, he's still one of the best riders in the US. Also interesting to note that Brad Cox has had 2 winners of the last 5 renewals of the Ohio Derby and finished second last year behind the odds-on shot. So it's not like he's thought, well, let's go to plan B and send Catching Freedom to Thistledown. This is a race that I like to win. Catching Freedom has shaped nicely in some of his early 3-year-old exploits. Why not send him to a race that he can definitely go 1 or 2 better? And that looks to be the Ohio Derby. Everything just seems to be pointing his way.
I think it's wonderful race placement from Brad Cox. Obviously, a race, as you say, that he targets year in, year out with one of his better ones, probably his best one in the form of Catching Freedom. Against him, we've spoke about Batten Down a little bit. I think this is going to be a bit too much for Batten Down. It's a real leap. He dominated a field last time around in a maiden special weight at Churchill. He looked visually very impressive, but this is going to require a darn sight more.
Yeah, he was left alone up front, and basically it was a paid workout, but he did produce a really good speed figure from it. So, it's hard to say that he can't win this race, but he needs to take a big step forward. On the clock, he's a player, but if he gets pressed up front, albeit it doesn't look like there are many horses that want to go forward here, he has proved in the past that he can be super vulnerable late. And also, I just think Catching Freedom's much more talented. If he gets a clean trip and they don't literally walk the dog up front, then I'd be surprised if Batten Down held him off anyway.
Copper Tax is also a horse for shortlist purposes. Now, he's an interesting one because he ran in the Federico Tessio Stakes last time at Laurel Park. He was good, to be fair, but there's a big, big jump up from running against horses like those at Laurel Park, which are fine for the track, to then go into the Ohio Derby and taking on a horse who ran very well, went fourth in the Kentucky Derby. I just thought Copper Tax was going to come up a bit short in this, but is another one to have run some okay figures. He still needs to improve a lot, though.
Yeah, he's been very prolific. 7 wins from 10 starts. So at least Copper Tax knows how to get his head in front. He's had 2 runs on the Kentucky Derby Trail earlier this year. He ran in the Remsen, which technically wasn't earlier this year, but this season, whatever. And then ran in the Sam F. Davis. And in both of those races, he was firmly put in his place. His 7 victories all came against much weaker opposition. So why will today be any different with Copper Tax? He may run okay, may finish second or third. He's a deep closer, will be staying on late. I just feel like he lacks the quality to beat a horse like Catching Freedom. And I couldn't really understand why he was 7-2 on the morning line. Surely he should have been a bigger price, maybe 5 or 6-1 here, no?
Yeah, the morning line's a bit of a nonsense to me in this race. Catching Freedom's too big. Quite a few of them are too short. And there is one in this race. I know everyone's listening to this thinking, oh, God, they're just going to go for the favourite. They're going to go for Catching Freedom. There is one that I'm going to put up each way at a price. And I don't know how much you agree with this, Tom, but Mugatu, the 10. There's a real problem, by the way, with how we pronounce horses' names and how Americans do. Like Sugwa, I hate that they call him Segoy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I knew they called him Segoy before our podcast last week, but you went with Sugwa, so I was like, I'm going with this man.
Well, that's it. It's just better.
It is better.
It's clear, like
exotic.
Yeah. If you're American and you're listening to this, come to us. We'll tell you how to pronounce the horses. You guys are just making stuff up as you go along. But Mugatu, he's 12-1 on the morning line. I just do not get that in any way. Now, he ran in the Preakness last time around, and he was the most inconvenienced by the way the track was playing. He was posted out last, literally as he went to quicken. You know, like Scooby-Doo does when he starts to run, when his legs go round and he goes nowhere.
I do, yeah.
Exactly what happened to this horse. He just couldn't go anywhere whatsoever. He was stuck at the back of the field. That was that, effectively. Go back to the Bluegrass. Only his 3rd run on dirt, by the way. He's been campaigned a lot on turf and the synthetic over at Turfway Park. You go back to the Bluegrass. He finished 5th. Now, he was running against Sierra Leone, just a touch. Epic Ride was in there as well. But him and Sierra Leone made the same move at the same time. Now, Mugatu was on the inside rail. Sierra Leone was a bit wider. He matched Sierra Leone from the start of the back straight to basically as they turned for home, probably a little bit further. That's a serious bit of running from Mugatu, because Sierra Leone, from ability standpoint, pure ability, taking into account nothing else, he's probably the best 3-year-old that we've got around this season. Obviously, the Baffert pair, there's a question mark over them, but from the ones we've genuinely seen, Sierra Leone, from an ability standpoint, is probably the best. He posted a figure of 87 on that day, but this is not a much easier race, but it's a kinder race, I'd say. He should be able to close from a fair way back. I would like to think that the race will set up for him, and it's for a large part a prize play, because honestly, I thought he'd be about 4 or 5 to 1 in this spot. 12 to 1, if there's any of that at all. And I'm hoping that English markets do completely ignore him, because he's a horse we don't really know much about. He's that also ran in the Preakness, but he was last, so whatever. If any English bookmaker was bold enough to go 16, 20 to 1 about Magatu, I think they'd be making a big mistake. I definitely have him hitting the board. I think he's the main danger to Catching Freedom.
It sounds very much like you're talking yourself into a Magatu bet here rather than Catching Freedom. Yeah, lots of value there if you think you're going to get a decent price. And to be fair, I agree. I think the bookmakers over here in the UK may be a little bit willing to give a big price on Magatu, especially with Catching Freedom unlikely to be anything like his 9 to 5 on the morning line. He'll probably open up 6 to 4, 11 to 8 and shorten, I imagine. Yeah, I mean, I'm not dead against Magatu. Obviously, he has to improve. He's yet to win on dirt. But if there is a pace up front and it partially or fully collapses, then Magatu's going to be running home late. And why couldn't he steal a place? There are 2 others in here that I'll briefly touch on before we provide our picks. Uncle Heavy, again, another horse that comes from way back in the pack. There are quite a few of those in this race, aren't there? Those like out-and-out pluggers, basically. They just stay on at the 1 speed. He's interesting, but again, he needs pace up front. And Gould's Gold, I don't know why he's so short on the morning line, but again, he represents Brian Hernandez and Ken McPeak. So maybe the morning line maker has decided that combination can't be overlooked. And, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, the morning line doesn't make much sense to me. And if it was inserted as a market, whoever that bookmaker would be going bankrupt very quick. But Catching Freedom is the 9 to 5 market leader on the morning line. I would ask for picks, but I think we kind of both know which way we're going. I'd say for win purposes in the Ohio Derby, Tom, we're both with Catching Freedom.
Yeah, I'm definitely with Catching Freedom. Brad Cox targets this race. He's the best horse. That Louisiana Derby form is the best piece of form. He gets the best rider in Luis Saez, and yeah, I just think he's way superior to these horses. If he opens up anything like the 6 to 4, 11 to 8 that I just said there, I think that's more than fair to have a play. He could open up shorter, and it wouldn't be surprising. I'd still be interested in him around the even money mark, but let's see what the firms go over here, and yeah, hopefully he can win because he deserves a victory.
He does. He's the sort of guy that you're cheering for a little bit because he deserves something like a nice win in a race like this. I do think Catching Freedom will win. Do take a look though at Magatu from an each way standpoint. Genuinely, he's a horse that I will play in this race. From an each way standpoint, exotics if you're that way inclined. But he did put in a real big closing effort a couple of starts ago when he, as I say, was matching Sierra Leone from the mid part of the race to halfway down the stretch, probably a little bit before that. He ran a nice figure that day. This is easier. He's been working very nicely. I think Magatu at a price will come home strongly. I think he'll run well. Whether he's good enough to win it, I don't know. But from an each way standpoint or a win play show standpoint, I think he's absolutely one that you have to take very seriously in here. But Catching Freedom, the most likely winner. That's it.
It is. It is it.
No, that's not the outro. Your face then was a little bit serious. Like, he's not just done that, has he?
No, I knew you wouldn't. Next week, we've got better racing. I feel like this is where we need to point forward because last week it was a late race at Churchill that many people probably didn't watch. And then this week we've got the Ohio Derby at Thistledown again, a track that many people may not watch or haven't watched before. Next week, Group 1 or Grade 1 action over at Churchill. Then Saratoga begins to kick in. So if you are watching these podcasts and really enjoying them and, getting more into US racing, buckle up because we're starting to get into the proper summer action now.
Yeah, and if you are watching these podcasts and you're thinking, I don't think I've subscribed to those really two handsome guys. Down below, click the red button, subscribe. You'll be told anytime we do anything. On YouTube, anyway. You can also subscribe to us on Spotify, on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. On Twitter, we're at Turf Touchdowns, and on all other social platforms, we are at Turf and Touchdowns. Leave a comment down below as well. Who do you like in the Ohio Derby? How'd you get on at Royal Ascot? One more thing to mention, Gabaldon was quite good, wasn't he?
He was really good, yeah. I'm glad to see him run well. To be honest, I didn't think he would get anywhere near as close as he did. with a furlong to run, I thought, why have I not bet this horse? Because it looked like he was going to
Mhm.
win. And then just overhauled by Ain't Nobody Late by Jamie Spencer. But no, he ran great, and fantastic to see another US horse run brilliantly on UK soil, especially for Jose D'Angelo, a guy that's never had a horse come over to the UK, a guy that's never really been in the picture to have a horse come over to the UK. But I think Gabaldon really put his name up in lights, and Jose said he thought he was going to win the race. Maybe he'll come back in the future, which is a good sign.
Yeah, hopefully so, and a good pointer towards from the Royal Palm, but to the Royal Palm for future purposes.
Yeah.
Twice or 2 years now, those races have been running. We've had Crimson Advocates come out of it and managed to win. This year we had Gabaldon, who almost managed to win, but very positive stuff from the US to the UK side of things. Thank you very much to you guys for listening and watching us and putting up with us this week. Hopefully we can provide you guys with yet another winner, Catching Freedom, the Win Play McGarty, the Each Way Play. We will see you next week when we're talking about Grade 1 action from Churchill Downs. Until we next get the privilege of talking to you guys, stay safe, look after another. Goodbye.